Hey, what's up everybody? It's Fresh Baked Pie here. I hope you're all well. In today's video, I'm going to show off some more of the Fallout 76 custom world settings, specifically the more higher tier difficulties and the weather effects, and even a few of the filters you can apply, plus a few additional settings. That way I can give you guys an idea of what you can expect overall from these custom private worlds that you can create, and I'll also offer some of my opinions on both the state of them as they are and what could be done to improve them as well. And hopefully this gives you guys a general sense of what it will be like in case you're a Fallout 1st subscriber and get access to this when it does come live for everybody. So without further ado guys, let's jump right into it. So as I was saying, I am going to mainly just go over the different weathers and a few of the different difficulty settings that are available. I am going to leave out rainy and foggy and misty rain because those occur in the game world naturally, and if you don't know what they look like, I do apologize. I just didn't feel that they were necessary to completely include along with all of the other weather effects because there are quite a few, and I did want to keep an interest of time for the video to not be extremely long going over all of these weather effects and these other settings. So I'm going to jump to a flash of which settings I have activated before I enter the world, and then I will enter the world and show you exactly what the weather looks like around you, and then of course I will go fight some nearby enemies with the difficulty settings that I have adjusted. That way you can see exactly how difficult things are. So let's show you. So first up on our list, I'm just finishing editing here, is going to be the Radstorm, no fast travel, and we're going to go with nuclear damage received and very low damage dealt. That is the highest amount of damage that the setting will allow you to receive, which basically means you take a bunch of damage, and the lowest amount of damage that you would deal, which I believe is a negative 75% damage. Let's hop into the world and see what it looks like. So here you can see this is the Radstorm effect. It's also a naturally occurring weather in the game, so you should be pretty familiar with it, but maybe not to this degree. So I don't remember if I actually took any radiation damage. I think this is just a weather effect. You'll see here that I can travel to the events, but fast travel is turned off, so I cannot fast travel to any other location on the map. I can only travel to public events that pop up. That would be it. So that would be the quickest and easiest way to get around the map. That would be like kind of how you would cheat. So now we're going to run over here and we're going to fight these blood eagles that are next to my camp. And I do have the explosive effect still turned on because I still have legendary effects turned on. I will turn them off later in the video. But so this is me dealing the minimum amount of damage that I can and taking the maximum amount of damage. I did not test the damage received outside of power armor because I was looking to see when you are at your most defensive state. So keep in mind, you see right here, I go down. So that melee weapon didn't do much against me from that Blood Eagle, but that laser rifle completely annihilated me, and I do have the electric absorption perk on, the legendary perk that allows you to recharge your fusion core and then heal from energy-based attacks. So just to give you an idea of how damaging that was, I went down in power armor with that effect on. So now let's move on to the next weather effect. Well, it's weather effect and the other settings that I'm changing. So I turned off the legendary mod effects to see how that changes how much damage I do. Ragdoll behavior, I turned on to nuclear force so you guys can see kind of a fun one you may enjoy playing with. Difficulty is going to be at the highest option available, which is nuclear, and then also damage received by enemies is also going to be at the highest option, again nuclear. Damage dealt is going to be at very low again, and the weather effect this time is going to be the ash storm. I will drop additional loot on death, and trust me, I will die with these settings, and of course fast travel is disabled. Now let's see how it looks. Alright, so this is what ash storm is going to look like. Pretty cool effect, honestly. It gives that sense of despair, and you know, everything's kind of shitty and just generally not a weather condition you would want to find yourself in on any given day. It looks pretty grim and very fitting of a an apocalyptic survival area. So now let's go see how these Blood Eagles fare against me. And remember, power armor is intentional here because I want my defense to be as high as I can possibly make it to see how effective their damage dealing abilities are. And as you can see, within seconds, I am dead. And then you get to see a little bit of the nuclear force applied. Remember, I'm in heavy armor, so I'm a little, or in heavy armor, in power armor, so I'm a little heavier, probably hard. Let's go look at my loot pile over here. So you can see what I've lost already on the right of the screen. I had 0 ammo, and none of my guns have ammo. You lose all of your food and drink, all of your aid, important stuff. It kept my survival syringes and loot pills and stuff like that. But junk, obviously, that's a given. But you also lose all your ammo. And you lose a bunch of your notes, you know, like your plans and stuff. All of that stuff drops if you turn on the additional loot dropped on death setting. So that can make for very high stakes gameplay, especially if you crank up the difficulty like I did. So as you can see, if you're going to go for the hardest you can make it, then get ready to be in for probably what would be a stressful and frustrating time, because you'll constantly have to go back to your bag, find all of your worthwhile loot, and then of course also manage to kill the Blood Eagles. Now remember, this is cranked up to where I deal no damage, none of my legendary effects are active, and I am taking the max amount of damage I can on top of the enemies being as powerful as they can possibly be. That's quite a combination of effects to stack on to one another for gameplay. I will go ahead and fight these guys as soon as I am done collecting all my loot. I'm not sure why I decided to take so long, but again, you can see here, this is, you know, all the type of stuff that you lose, your treasure maps, your notes, anything that has, you know, some semblance of value in your inventory basically just goes bye-bye whenever you die. And you can see here, now I'm going to pull out my Gatling gun, reload, and look at that. I am dealing next to no damage. That Molotov cocktail took me out again. Guys, I could not kill one Blood Eagle like that, let alone get through a whole group. So if you're looking for the most hardcore you can, then good luck, because that would be it. You know, no legendary effects, nuclear difficulty, nuclear damage taken, and very low damage dealt. You're looking at a frustrating time in the game. All right, so next up is going to be pretty similar. Still no legendary mods, nuclear difficulty, nuclear damage received, and very low damage dealt. This one is really just to show you the next weather effect. So it will be the Nuke Weather effect, and this is going to look exactly what you would expect it to look like. It's just like when you nuke, you know, the mine or any location really, but mostly the mine and Fissure Site Prime, and it's going to look like what it looks like when you walk inside the nuclear zone. I'll show you here. Okay, so this is what it looks like. Like I said, exactly like what you would expect, except this condition is applied to the entire map. Honestly, it is a really cool effect to have. It would be great for a survival type playthrough, especially where all the difficulty is ramped up to nuclear. It would really add to that entire setting as a whole. But we're going to go ahead and move on from this. So the next weather effect is going to be a searing weather effect, and I have actually changed the difficulty to hard, and then changed damage received to high, and still damage dealt to very low. And this is just to kind of play with the difficulty settings a little bit. That way you can gauge whether or not you want to crank it all the way up, or maybe play with just a little bit harder so that it's still challenging but not nearly impossible, so that you're just constantly frustrated whenever you die a bunch. Okay, so searing, this is what searing looks like. I don't know that I've ever noticed this weather effect in the game on its own. So if this is new, then that makes sense, because I don't remember ever seeing it. And I'm also not sure what searing is supposed to be. It's extremely bright, but I don't know if it's meant to be like the sun is just overbearing, you know, like an extremely sunny day, or, you know, I'm not really sure. It's pretty cool. It's very, very bright. I don't think I would use it a lot, but some of you might like it. And then this is just testing those damage settings that we changed. And then of course you can see that nuclear ragdoll force that I applied. It is hilarious to watch those guys get launched when they die. But the main takeaway from it is that simply changing it from nuclear to very hard makes it a little more viable. You know, I don't have legendary effects going on right now, so I really just rely on the weapon and the perks that I have along with my mutations. So you can see I am surviving and I am killing these guys, but it's taking effort. I'm having to move in and out. I'm having to use stim packs. I'm having to focus my fire on them, taking quite a bit more shots to kill. So it's definitely not easy to kill them, but it's doable. You know, you and a few friends, you could definitely manage a survival run with this. But of course, if there are 4 of you, this would be a little more easy to accomplish because all of you will be attacking at once. If you're going to go solo, then you may find it a bit more challenging. It all just depends on how you play. But overall, it should be pretty fun, pretty challenging if you apply these settings, and enjoyable. So next up is going to be Swamp. Now, I have just turned the difficulty to very hard for this next little iteration to show you the weather effect and show you just what happens if you turn the difficulty up, you know, to something higher instead of messing around with how much damage you deal or take, to kind of give you a sense of what that looks like on its own. So this is Swamp. It's okay. It's bright. Kind of got that radiation foggy aesthetic. You know, a little bit like Rad Storm, almost like what I would expect the environment to look like before the actual Rad Storm blew in. You know, this is like the little bit right before the full storm makes it, and that's what Swamp looks like to me. So it's a pretty cool one. And then as you can see here, still no legendary effects, but you know, the enemies are going down now that my weapon is back to normal damage. So they may take a little more damage than they did, but just simply cranking the difficulty up. And remember, this is very hard. It's not nuclear. It's the second highest difficulty you can make it. So keep that in mind. But much more easier to manage when your damage isn't heavily reduced. So the next one we're going to move on to is Quantum Storm, and then the only other change here is that I turned the difficulty all the way up to nuclear to see how much of a difference it actually makes. Now, honestly, Quantum Storm looks really cool. It looks like nuclear, except you just change the color palette from the nuclear red-orange to the Nuka-Cola Quantum color. So it makes for a very cool effect, honestly. I'm really digging it. And there is a variant I'll show off in just a second, which is the Quantum Storm Raining, which is a bit more hardcore. But overall, it's a pleasing color. It's what, you know, I like that color scheme in general, and just a cool weather effect to play in. So for anybody that's looking for something new and interesting, this might be right up your alley. Now let's go see if these enemies are any more challenging than they were 15 seconds ago when you saw them on very hard. And no, doesn't really look like it. So, you know, I'm tearing through them pretty easy. Now, I've got to imagine if I were a lower level with not maxed out perks and gear, that nuclear difficulty would probably pose more of a threat and a challenge. But at max level, it's really nothing more than making my enemies take more of my ammunition to get rid of. Now, of course, they could overwhelm me and kill me, and maybe some more of the more powerful, bigger monster enemies might fare a little bit better. But overall, if you're really looking for that challenging gameplay difficulty, then you're going to want to not only adjust the actual difficulty, but the damage dealt and damage received settings as well, is what it looks like. So next up is going to be the Dark Bog weather effect. Now this one is actually my favorite of the bunch, and no other settings were changed. So here you can see it's got this really cool, dark, just eerie vibe overall. to it, and that effect that's going on, I turned off the depth of field setting because I'm in photo mode to kind of show you guys the surroundings. It looks better with it on, honestly, so I turned it back on. But yeah, no, check that out. Now tell me that's not like a post-apocalyptic survival weather effect that just adds a nice touch, sense of dread, sense of lifelessness. Yeah, no, I really dig it a lot. It's my favorite one out of the group, and then I'd have to say the Quantum Storm was my second favorite of these weather effects. So next up is the Quantum Storm Rain, which is just the Quantum Storm, but now it is raining. And it's, like I said, it's a bit more intense, and it's pretty cool. Let's see it. So here it is, and as you can see, it's that same storm effect in the sky, but now the rain is actually falling down, so it feels like more of a storm is actually happening around you. Pretty cool effect overall. I'd definitely say that this one and the Dark Bog and the regular Quantum Storm are easily my top 3 weather effects that I'll probably use pretty frequently. Alright, so to wrap the video up, guys, I'm going to show off a couple of the visual filters you can also apply. Now keep in mind there are a few more visual filters than the ones I show, but they don't change too much. I think the other ones are black and white, sepia, and enhanced. And enhanced just kind of brightens the colors and sharpens, I think, the world around you. Nothing too visually different. Not like Feral and I believe Sugar Bombs, where the world actually looks a bit different and colors and stuff like that are actually changed. So, and they can make for some pretty cool combinations with the weather effects that you can change. Let's check it out. So here is the Feral visual filter. This is not black and white. This is just what the world looks like with just that visual filter on. I left the weather settings at default. It just happened to be a rainstorm when I loaded in. So you can see this is what the world looks like. If you have a visual filter applied and you go into photo mode, it automatically changes the way the world looks back to its default state. And then, of course, once you exit photo mode, it'll change it back to the visual filter you have on. I didn't know that until I started playing with this at the time, so that's why this footage looks kind of weird. But here in a sec, I go over and attack those blood eagles. And as you can see here, the red and oranges really pop against this dark background setting we have. So it's a pretty cool filter. Just imagine the combination of this with one of those nice crazy storm filters, and you can get a very cool aesthetic for your survival playthrough, or generally whatever you want to do. Alright, and last but not least is the Sugar Bomb visual filter. It does add kind of an interesting effect to the world. So here is what Sugar Bombs looks like. It kind of adds this very bright, I guess, saturated color scheme to the world, and I'll show you right here. So this is what the world normally looks like. It looks like it's a clear weather day. Again, I'm not controlling the weather. This is just the game's default, and this is normal everyday clear weather. This is Sugar Bombs visual filter. Not my favorite personally, but I'm sure there will be plenty of people who do enjoy it. It all comes down to personal taste anyway. And who knows, maybe if you apply this visual filter with some sort of weather effect, you can actually get a pretty cool combination. I haven't really tested all of that out just yet. So that's going to do it though for all of those effects and settings that you can change. So hopefully that gives you guys a sense of what kind of combinations you can apply to your world visually to make it more of the aesthetic that you're looking for with whatever kind of playthrough you're looking for, if you're planning on having custom designed worlds later on when this update drops. So like me, for example, I plan on making a true survival mode to the best that I can, essentially where the difficulty is way up, there's no legendary effects, there's some cool visual filters and weather settings that are applied, and then I will invite some people to my private world, and we will try to tackle some content, maybe some different type of events like the Queen, Project Paradise, Encrypted, stuff like that. See if we can actually complete it without all of our powerful legendaries and our overpowered builds all the time. See if we can make it difficult and make it that much more worthwhile for completing. Now, this video is a little long, but I did want to offer up a couple of my thoughts on what custom worlds could use to become a little bit better as far as the future goes. And so obviously the first thing would be a few more settings. such as adding penalties for hunger and thirst back to really drive up that survival feeling for the game, and then perhaps a chance to randomize things. I think a randomizer would be really, really cool if you could apply that to a custom world and it just randomizes all the settings. You don't know what you're going to get, and then you jump in with your friends and see what the hell's going on. I think that would be a really fun one to play through. And then finally, I think my biggest thing about the private worlds is that it's still only up to 8 players, which is pretty limiting in my opinion when you stack on top of the fact that it can't be opened up publicly for anyone to join. You have to invite friends. And this inherently isn't bad, but I feel it's very limiting. I would like the ability to be able to, toggle a setting in the settings menu that says, hey, open my private world up when I host one to just a public domain so that anyone can join in. So basically, if you don't know me at all, you're not my friend, you can go look at private worlds that have been set to public, and you can jump in one if it has settings you like. I think that would be a pretty cool feature to add, and it would really bring a bit more life into the custom worlds as a whole, and I think they would be played with a little bit more. I know a lot of people are upset that you can't have character progression or scoreboard progression and stuff like that, so I think that with the custom worlds Bethesda is going to be making, I don't think they should take away progression. I think they should add challenges based on the settings and stuff that they apply to those custom worlds that grant different types of rewards, maybe special gear, weapons, armor, stuff like that, or special consumables, or even just stuff that's already in the game, like extra scoreboard rewards or extra scoreboard XP, or maybe some sort of loot crate or something if you complete all of these given challenges in their custom world. Just different stuff like that to kind of bring a bit more life and entertainment into what's already available, because as is, the custom worlds, they'll be fun, but only for certain people. This won't really be an update that affects everybody as a whole and really makes everything so much better for everyone. At least in my opinion. But let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching the video. If you made it this far, please consider hitting that thumbs up button, and please consider subscribing to the channel if you have not already. And let me know down in the comments as well if there's anything you do want to see, if you want to see something tested out, weapons, armor, anything like that. Thanks to these new custom world settings, I am able to go in with some of the building options and just build things for free, so I can literally craft whatever I need to craft and get whatever legendary variant I need to get in order to test it out. So if there is anything you are absolutely interested in and haven't really seen a whole lot of, drop it in the comment section below, and the next time I make a video testing stuff out, I will do my best to include it in there for you. And that is going to do it for today's video, guys. I hope you all enjoyed it. I will see you next time.